the forgotten town of Eldridge, where the ocean whispers secrets from the stars, Elara discovers her blood is tied to a cosmic force that hungers for souls. As her body glows with unearthly light and the sea pulls her toward a city of black spires, she must face an ancient guardian and a choice that could free her lost mother or unleash a void that devours worlds. Chapter 1. The Whispering Waves in the small town of Eldridge, where the sea met the land like old friends who never parted, lived a young woman named Elara. She was 25, with hair as dark as midnight and eyes that held the blue of the ocean. Eldridge sat on a rocky coast, cliffs dropping sharp into the water below. The town was old, built long ago by folks who came from far away, seeking peace from the busy world. But peace was not what they found. The ocean here was different. It did not just crash and foam like normal seas. It whispered. Soft sounds at night, like voices from a dream you could not shake. Elara grew up hearing those whispers. Her mother told her stories about them when she was a little girl. The sea talks to those who listen, her mother would say, tucking her into bed. But don't listen too close, or it might pull you in. Elara's mother had vanished one stormy night when Elara was just 10. Folks said she walked into the waves and never came back. The town whispered about it too, but in hushed tones, like they feared the ocean might hear. Now, Elara lived alone in a small house on the cliff's edge. It was made of weathered wood, creaking in the wind like an old man's bones. She worked at the local shop, selling bread and fish to the few people who still called Eldridge home. Most had left over the years, driven away by the strange happenings. Fish that glowed in the dark, washed up on shore. Birds that fell from the sky, their eyes wide with fear. And always, the whispers. One evening, as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in reds and oranges, Elara walked along the beach. The sand was cool under her feet, and small shells crunched like tiny bones. She came here often to think about her mother. The waves lapped gently, but tonight they seemed louder. Not crashing loud, but whispering loud. She stopped and knelt down, putting her ear close to the water. At first, it was just the usual murmur, like wind through trees. But then words formed, clear as day. Elara, come home. She jumped back, heart pounding like a drum. The voice was soft, like her mother's, but it could not be. Her mother was gone, taken by the sea. Elara shook her head, telling herself it was just her mind playing tricks. The town was full of ghost stories. Old Mr. Harlan at the shop said the ocean was alive, connected to things beyond the stars. He called it cosmic, whatever that meant. Elara thought he was just old and silly. But as she walked home, the whispers followed her. Not in her ears, but in her head. They echoed like a song you could not forget. That night, she dreamed of the ocean. In the dream, the water was not blue, but black, dotted with stars like the night sky. She floated in it, weightless, and hands reached up from below, gentle hands pulling her down. "Stay with us," they said. She woke up sweating, the sheets tangled around her legs like seaweed. The next day, Elara tried to forget. She went to, work, smiling at customers, but her mind wandered. At lunch, she sat outside the shop, eating a sandwich. The sea was calm, sparkling under the sun. But then, a fisherman named Tom came in, his face pale as milk. "Something's wrong with the catch," he said, dumping a basket on the counter. The fish were twisted, their scales shimmering with odd colors, like oil on water, and their eyes were like tiny stars, glowing faintly. Elara stared. "What happened?" Tom shook his head. "The nets pulled up more than fish. There was something else. A shape in the water, big and dark. It let go, but not before whispering." Elara's blood ran cold. "Whispering what?" "Your name," Tom said, eyes wide. It said Elara. She laughed it off, but inside fear gnawed at her like a hungry rat. That afternoon, she visited the old library in town. It was a dusty place, books stacked high, smelling of mold and forgotten time. Miss Lydia, the librarian, was ancient, her skin wrinkled like old paper. "Looking for something, dear?" she asked. "Stories about the ocean," Elara said. "Old ones." Miss Lydia nodded, pulling out a thick book bound in leather. "This one's from the founders. They wrote about the sea as if it were a living thing. Tied to the cosmos, they said. Stars falling into the water, making it hungry." Elara read late into the evening. The book told of sailors who saw lights in the deep, not from fish, but from other worlds. The ocean here was a door, it said, to places beyond, and once it grabbed you, it wouldn't let go. Her mother's name was in the book too. She had been researching it before she disappeared. As night fell, Elara walked home under a sky full of stars. The whispers started again, louder now. "Elara, join us." She ran the last bit, slamming the door behind her. But even inside, she heard them. She lit a candle, its flame dancing like a scared child. Looking out the window, she saw the ocean glowing faintly, like it held the stars inside. Sleep did not come easy. When it did, the dreams returned. This time, she was under the water, breathing as if it were air. Creatures swam around her, not fish, but shapes with tentacles and eyes that sparkled like galaxies. They spoke in her mind. "The ocean calls its own. Your mother waits." She woke with a start, the room cold. Outside, the wind howled, and rain pelted the windows like angry fingers. Elara got up, wrapping a blanket around her. She needed answers. Slipping on her coat, she stepped into the storm. The path to the beach was slick, mud grabbing at her boots. Lightning flashed, lighting the waves like silver blades. At the water's edge, she shouted, "What do you want from me?" The ocean answered. A wave rose higher than the rest, and in its foam she saw a face, her mother's face, smiling sadly. "Come home, Elara. The stars are falling." Elara stepped back, but the water surged, wrapping around her ankles like cold hands. It pulled, gentle at first, then stronger. She fought, digging her heels into the sand, but the pull was like gravity, unbreakable. Panic rose in her chest. "Let go!" she screamed, but the ocean wouldn't. It whispered promises of wonders below, of worlds unseen, stars in the deep, eternal life. Her mother's voice mixed with others, a chorus of the lost. With all her strength, Elara yanked free, falling back onto the sand. The wave receded, but the whispers lingered. "Soon, you will come." She ran home, heart racing. Inside, she barred the door, but knew it was useless. The ocean was everywhere, in the air, in her blood. That night, she did not sleep. Instead, she planned. She would find out more, talk to others who heard the calls. Maybe Mr. Harlan knew something. Or the old lighthouse keeper, if he was still alive. As dawn broke, the sky light with pink, Elara looked out. The sea was calm again, innocent. But she knew better. It was waiting, patient as time itself. Days passed, and the whispers grew, not just at night, but during the day. While baking bread, while walking the streets, the town felt smaller, like it was shrinking into the sea. People avoided her eyes, as if they knew. One afternoon, Elara met Lila, her childhood friend. Lila had red hair and a laugh like bells, but today she looked worried. "You hear them too, don't you?" Lila asked, over tea in Elara's kitchen. Elara nodded. "Since Mother left." Lila leaned close. "My brother did too. Before he vanished last year. He said the ocean showed him things. Cities under the waves, built by beings from the stars. Gothic tales, he called them, full of shadows and dread. They talked long, sharing stories. Lila had found an old map in her attic, showing hidden caves along the coast. "Maybe answers there," she said. Together, they set out at dusk. The cliffs were steep, wind whipping their hair. The map led to a crack in the rock hidden by vines. Inside, the cave was dark, dripping water echoing like whispers. They lit lanterns, flames flickering on walls carved with strange symbols, swirls like waves, dots like stars. Deeper in, they found a chamber. In the center, a pool of water, still as glass. But below, lights twinkled, like a night sky upside down. Elara knelt, peering in. "Mother?" she whispered. The water rippled, and an image formed. Her mother floating in a vast ocean, surrounded by cosmic lights. "Elara, the pull is strong, but you can fight it." "How?" Elara asked, tears falling. "Find the heart." The image said, "In the deep." The vision faded and the whisper surged, louder than ever. The pool bubbled, water rising like a tide. "Run!" Lila shouted. They fled the cave, water chasing their heels. Outside, the sea roared, waves crashing high. Back home, Elara panted, mind spinning. The heart? What did that mean? She knew she had to go deeper into the town's secrets. The next week was a blur. Elara dug through old records at the library, finding tales of a meteor that fell into the ocean centuries ago. It brought something with it, life from the stars, merging with the sea. Making it alive, hungry for souls. Mr. Harlan confirmed it. The ocean wouldn't let go because it's lonely. It collects us, like stars in the sky. Elara felt the pull stronger each day. Her dreams were vivid now, showing her swimming through space, the ocean a bridge between worlds. One night, a storm raged fiercer than any before. Thunder boomed like giants fighting. Elara stood at her window, watching lightning strike the sea. Each flash showed shapes in the water, tentacles, eyes, vast forms. The door rattled, wind howling, but it was not wind. "Elara." The whispers called. She opened the door, rain soaking her. Outside, the ocean had risen, flooding the path. It lapped at her feet, inviting. "No," she said, stepping back. But deep inside, part of her wanted to go, to see the wonders, to find her mother. As the chapter closed, Elara knew this was just the start. The ocean's grip was tightening, and the cosmic secrets waited below. Chapter 2. Shadows from the Deep. Elara woke to a world washed clean by the storm. The air smelled of salt and wet earth, and the streets of Eldridge glistened like rivers under the pale morning light. Her small house on the cliff creaked, as if sighing after the wild night. She rubbed her eyes, the memory of the ocean's whispers clinging to her like damp clothes. The voice, her mother's voice, had called her name, pulling at her heart. She wanted to believe it was just a dream, but the cold grip around her ankles on the beach felt too real. She dressed quickly, pulling on a thick sweater and boots, her dark hair tied back in a messy braid. The town was quiet, too quiet, as she stepped outside. The sea lay calm beyond the cliffs, its surface smooth as glass, hiding the secrets it whispered last night. Elara's stomach twisted. She needed answers, and she wasn't going to find them hiding in her house. Lila was waiting at the bakery, her red hair catching the sunlight like fire. She leaned against the counter, sipping tea, her green eyes sharp with worry. "You look like you saw a ghost," Lila said, pushing a mug toward Elara. "Felt like one," Elara replied, wrapping her hands around the warm mug. She told Lila everything, the whispers, the wave, her mother's face in the foam. Lila listened, her face growing paler with every word. "My brother heard them too," Lila said softly. "Before he vanished last year. He said the ocean showed him things, cities under the waves, built by something else. He called them Gothic tales, full of shadows and dread. I thought he was losing it, but now—" She trailed off, biting her lip. Elara's heart sank. Lila's brother, Sam, had been a fisherman, like Tom. One night he rowed out and never came back. The town said he drowned, but no body was ever found. Just like her mother. "What did he see?" Elara asked. Lila leaned closer, her voice low. "He said the water was alive, not just moving, but thinking. He saw shapes, Elara, big ones, moving under the surface. They whispered his name, showed him places, dark places like the spaces between stars. He said it felt like the ocean was lonely. Elara shivered. Lonely. That word stuck, heavy as a stone. She thought of Mr. Harlan's stories about the ocean being tied to the cosmos, something vast and old. "We need to know more," she said. "There's got to be something in this town that explains it." Lila nodded. "The old lighthouse. Sam went there before he disappeared. Said he found something. Papers, maybe. It's been empty for years, but it's worth a look." The lighthouse stood on the far edge of Eldridge, a crumbling tower of stone perched on a cliff. Its light had gone out decades ago, after the last keeper, old man Caleb, vanished. Folks said he went mad, ranting about shadows in the deep. Elara and Lila set out at noon, the sky gray with clouds that hung low like a warning. The path was overgrown, brambles scratching at their legs, but they pushed on, driven by the need to understand. The lighthouse door was heavy, rusted hinges groaning as they shoved it open. Inside, the air was thick with dust, swirling in the faint light that slipped through cracked windows. The spiral staircase wound up into darkness, its steps sagging under their weight. Cobwebs draped like curtains, and the smell of mold clung to everything. Elara's lantern cast long shadows, making the walls seem alive, shifting. They climbed to the top, where the old lamp sat, its glass cracked but still gleaming faintly. Below, the ocean stretched endless, its calm surface a lie. "Look around," Elara said, her voice echoing. "Anything that might tell us something." Lila found a trunk under a tarp, its lock rusted but broken. Inside were journals, their pages yellowed and curling. The handwriting was shaky, like the writer was scared. "Caleb's," Lila said, holding one up. "Listen to this. The shadows come at night rising from the deep. They are not fish, not beasts, but something else. They pull at the boats, drag them down. I hear them in my head calling my name." Elara's skin prickled. She took another journal, flipping through. "Here's more. The ocean is a door. It opens to places we cannot know, places beyond the stars. The shadows are its keepers, watching, waiting. They want us to join them." Lila's eyes widened. "Join them? Like forever?" Elara didn't answer. She kept reading, her fingers trembling. Caleb wrote of nights when the sea glowed, when shapes moved under the water, too big to be real. He saw boats vanish, heard screams swallowed by waves. One entry chilled her most. "They know my name. They know all our names. The ocean never forgets." They spent hours in the lighthouse, reading until the light outside faded. Each journal told the same story. A living ocean, tied to something vast and strange, pulling people in. Caleb's last entry was a warning. "Do not trust the calm. The shadows are always there, waiting." As they left, the wind picked up, howling through the tower like a cry. Elara felt watched, not by eyes, but by something deeper, something that saw into her soul. They hurried back to town, journals tucked under their arms, the weight of their words heavier than the books themselves. That night, Elara couldn't sleep. The whispers were back, softer now, but constant, like a heartbeat in her head. She lit a candle, its flame flickering as if scared. Sitting at her table, she opened one of Caleb's journals again. A loose page fell out, a sketch of the ocean, with shapes drawn in the water, long, twisting forms with too many arms, eyes like stars. Below, in shaky ink, "They are not from here." She pushed the book away, heart racing. The whispers grew louder, forming words. "Elara, see us." She clamped her hands over her ears, but it didn't help. The sound was inside her, part of her. She stumbled to the window, looking out at the sea. It was dark, but not empty. Shapes moved, faint shadows under the surface, gliding like ghosts. Then, one rose. A shadow, long and sinuous, broke the water's edge, its form shimmering in the moonlight. It didn't have a face, but Elara felt it look at her. Her mind filled with images, dark voids, endless spaces where stars burned cold. cities of black stone under the waves, lit by glowing orbs, and voices, so many voices, calling her to join them. She stumbled back, knocking over the candle. The flame went out, plunging the room into darkness. The shadow lingered outside, its presence heavy, pressing against her thoughts. "No," she whispered, curling up on the floor. "Leave me alone." But the shadow didn't leave. It stayed in her mind, even as she closed her eyes, showing her more. She saw her mother, floating in that starry abyss, her face calm but sad. "Elara," the vision said, "you can't run forever." She woke at dawn, sprawled on the floor, the journals scattered around her. The sea was calm again, but she knew it was watching. She met Lila at the bakery, her friend's face drawn and tired. "I saw something last night," Lila said. "In the water. It moved wrong." Elara nodded. "They're getting bolder, whatever they are." They decided to go back to the beach to see if the shadows would show themselves in daylight. The sand was littered with debris from the storm, seaweed, shells, and strange things. A bone, carved, with spirals, a stone that glowed faintly green. Elara picked it up and it hummed in her hand, warm and alive. She dropped it, heart pounding. "Look," Lila said, pointing. In the shallows, shadows moved. Not fish, not waves, but something else. They twisted, long and fluid, like snakes made of night. One rose, its form half in the water, half out, and Elara swore it had eyes, hundreds of them, glowing like tiny moons. "Elara," it whispered, not in her ears but in her soul. The sound was deep, like a bell tolling under the sea. Images flooded her again, vast oceans stretching across planets, stars falling into water, beings that were neither alive nor dead. She clutched Lila's arm, her nails digging in. "Run!" Lila gasped, pulling her back. They fled to the cliffs, the shadows slinking back into the deep. But their presence lingered, a weight in the air. Elara's head throbbed, the visions still flashing, dark Gothic spires rising from the sea, built by hands that weren't human. "They're not just in the water," she said, panting. "They're in us." Lila nodded, her face pale. Sam said the same. He felt them in his dreams, pulling at him. He tried to fight, but Elara's throat tightened. "We need help. Someone who knows more." They went to Mr. Harlan, the old shopkeeper. His store smelled of fish and bread, but his eyes held a knowing glint. "You saw them, didn't you?" he said, not a question. "The shadows." Elara told him everything. The lighthouse, the journals, the visions. Harlan listened, his hands shaking as he poured tea. "The ocean's always been different here," he said. "Long ago, something fell from the sky. A star, they called it, but it wasn't just light. It brought life, strange life, and the sea drank it in. Now it's part of it, and it's hungry." "For what?" Lila asked. "For us," Harlan said. "It collects souls, like shells on the shore. Your mother, Elara, she knew. She tried to warn us, but the sea took her first." Elara's eyes burned with tears. "How do we stop it?" Harlan shook his head. "You don't stop the ocean. You can only learn its ways. There's a cave north of town. Old stories say it's where the star fell. Might be answers there." That night, Elara dreamed again. She was in the water, but it wasn't cold. It was warm, like blood, and the shadows swam around her. They weren't scary now, but beautiful, their forms glowing with starlight. They sang a song that made her heart ache. "Join us," they said. "Be free." She woke crying, the song still in her ears. The shadows weren't just monsters. They were lonely, like Lila said, but that didn't make them less dangerous. The next day, she and Lila set out for the cave. The path was treacherous, rocks slick with moss, waves crashing below. The entrance was hidden, a crack in the cliff barely wide enough to slip through. Inside, the air was damp, the walls carved with the same spirals as the bone on the beach. Their lanterns cast eerie light, making the carvings dance. Deeper in, they found a chamber. The floor was smooth, like it had been shaped, not worn. In the center, a pool of water, black and still, but below, lights flickered like stars trapped under the surface. Elara knelt, her reflection staring back, but it wasn't just her. Shadows moved in the water, mirroring her movements. "Lila," she whispered, "do you see?" The water surged, a wave rising from the pool. It didn't splash, but held its shape, forming a figure, tall, fluid, with eyes like galaxies. "Elara," it said, its voice a chorus of whispers. "You belong with us," Lila screamed, grabbing Elara's arm. The figure reached, its touch cold as ice, and Elara's mind filled with visions again. Endless dark, stars that screamed, oceans that stretched forever. She pulled free, stumbling back, the figure collapsing into water. They ran, the cave trembling, water chasing them. Outside, the sea roared, waves clawing at the cliffs. Back in town, Elara's house felt no safer. The shadows had followed, not in body but in her mind. She saw them in every dark corner, felt them in every quiet moment. Lila stayed over, both too scared to be alone. "What are they?" Lila asked, her voice small. "They're not just shadows," Elara said. "They're part of something bigger, something that wants us." As they sat, the whispers returned, louder, clearer. "Elara, Lila, come." The windows rattled, and outside the sea glowed, shadows dancing under the surface. Elara clutched the journal, Caleb's words burning in her mind. The ocean was a door, and the shadows were its keepers. But what lay beyond? And why did it want her so badly? She looked at Lila, determination hardening her fear. "We're not done yet. We'll find that cave again. We'll find the truth." Lila nodded, though her eyes were wide with fear. The shadows were growing bolder, the ocean's pull stronger. Elara knew time was running out. The sea wouldn't let go, not until it had what it wanted. Chapter 3. The Forgotten Lighthouse. Elara's boots crunched on the gravel path as she and Lila headed back to the lighthouse. The air was heavy, thick with salt and the faint tang of something sour, like rot carried on the wind. The sky hung low, clouds swirling, in patterns that made Elara's stomach twist, too much like the spirals carved in the cave from the day before. Her head still buzzed with the shadow's voice, its cold touch lingering like frost on her skin. The journals they'd found yesterday burned in her mind, Caleb's shaky words about a living ocean and its keepers. She clutched the one she'd brought, its leather cover worn soft, as if it held secrets too heavy for paper. Lila walked beside her, her red hair tucked under a scarf, her face set with determination but pale with fear. "You sure about this?" she asked, glancing at the sea. It was calm today, too calm, its surface like a mirror reflecting the gray sky. "After what happened in the cave, we have to," Elara said, her voice firm despite the tremble in her hands. "Caleb knew something. My mother did too. The lighthouse is the key." She didn't say what she really thought, that the ocean was watching, waiting, its whispers coiling tighter around her heart each night. The lighthouse loomed ahead, its stone tower crumbling at the edges, streaked with moss and salt. It stood alone on the cliff, like a sentinel forgotten by time. The door creaked as they pushed it open, the same groan as yesterday, but today it felt like a warning. Inside, dust danced in the dim light, and the air was colder, heavier. Elara's lantern flickered, casting shadows that seemed to move on, their own. They climbed the spiral stairs, each step creaking under their weight. The journals had hinted at more than just writings, something hidden, something Caleb had found before he vanished. At the top, the broken lamp sat silent, its cracked glass catching the faint light like a dead eye. Lila ran her fingers along the wall, searching. "He wrote about a secret," she said. "A place in the tower." Elara nodded, scanning the room. The walls were bare, but one panel looked off, slightly raised, its edges uneven. She pressed it, and with a click it slid open, revealing a narrow staircase leading up. "Here," she whispered, heart pounding. The stairs were tight, barely wide enough for one person. They spiraled higher, into a small room Elara hadn't known existed. It was round, its walls lined with shelves, books and papers stacked haphazardly. A single window let in a sliver of light, showing the sea stretching endless below. In the center was a desk, covered in maps and drawings, all marked with the same spirals they'd seen in the cave. Lila picked up a map, her eyes wide. "Look at this." It showed the coast, but not just the land. Lines stretched into the ocean, marking paths under the water. At the center was a spot labeled the city. Elara's breath caught. Cities under the waves, like Sam had told Lila. Like the visions the shadows showed her. "Caleb mapped it," Elara said, tracing the lines. "He found something out there." They dug through the papers, finding more of Caleb's writings. His words were frantic, scrawled in ink that smudged like he'd written in a hurry. "The lighthouse was built to keep them out," one page read. "Not to guide ships, but to warn. The light drove the shadows back, but they're stronger now. The ocean is waking." Elara's skin prickled. She found a sketch of the lamp with notes. "The lens is special, made from crystal, not glass. It burns them." She looked at the broken lamp below, its lens shattered. "We need to fix it," she said. Lila frowned. "Fix it? With what?" "There's a spare bulb in the shed downstairs. I saw it yesterday." Elara's voice was steady, but inside, fear gnawed at her. The ocean's whispers had been quiet today, but she felt them waiting, like a predator crouched in the dark. They found the bulb, heavy and cold, its surface etched with faint spirals. It took both of them to carry it up, their arms straining as they fitted it into the lamp. The mechanism was old, rusted, but Lila, who'd always been good with machines, worked the gears until they groaned to life. When they turned it on, the light blazed, a beam cutting through the dusk outside. It swept over the sea, and for a moment, the water seemed to flinch. Then it answered. The ocean roared, waves crashing against the cliff like fists. The lighthouse shook, dust falling from the ceiling. Elara grabbed the railing, her heart racing. In the beam's light, shapes moved under the water, long twisting forms, glowing faintly like stars trapped in the deep. They writhed, as if the light burned them, and a sound filled the air, not a whisper but a scream, high and sharp like glass breaking. Lila clutched Elara's arm. "What is that?" "The shadows," Elara said, her voice barely a whisper. Caleb was right. The light hurts them. But the shadows didn't retreat. They surged, rising closer to the surface, their forms clearer now. Tentacles, eyes, bodies that shifted like liquid night. One reached up, its tip breaking the water, curling toward the lighthouse. Elara's head throbbed, visions flooding in again, dark spires, glowing orbs, voices calling her name. She stumbled, catching herself on the desk. "Lila, turn it off," she shouted. Lila fumbled with the gears, and the light died. The shadows sank back, the sea calming, but the air felt heavier, like it held a grudge. Elara's knees shook as she sat, the vision still flashing. Cities of black stone, streets lit by unnatural light, beings that moved like shadows but thought like gods. Then a new sound. A creak, not from the lighthouse but from below, inside the tower. Footsteps, slow and heavy, climbing the stairs. Elara froze, her lantern trembling in her hand. Lila's eyes were wide, her breath shallow. "Someone's here," she whispered. They backed against the wall, the footsteps growing louder. The air grew colder, the shadows in the room thicker, as if the light itself was afraid. A figure appeared in the doorway, not a shadow, but a man, or what used to be a man. His clothes were tattered, soaked, his skin pale as bone, his eyes glowing faintly, like the fish Tom had shown them. It was Caleb, the lighthouse keeper, or his ghost. "You shouldn't be here," he said, his voice hollow, like it came from underwater. "The ocean sees you now." Elara's throat tightened. "What do you mean?" Caleb stepped closer, water dripping from him, pooling on the floor. "I tried to fight it. The light kept them at bay, but they're too strong. The ocean is a door, girl. It opens to places you can't imagine, places that want you. Lila gripped Elara's hand. What do they want? Caleb's glowing eyes fixed on Elara. You're hers. The ocean claimed your mother, and now it wants you. It's lonely, always lonely. It collects what it loves. Elara's heart pounded. My mother? She's alive? Caleb's face twisted. Not a smile, but something sadder. Alive, but not here. She's in the deep, with the others. The light can't save her now. He moved closer, and Elara saw his hands, fingers too long, webbed like they belonged to something else. She backed away, pulling Lila with her. Stay back, she said, holding up the lantern like a shield. Caleb stopped, his head tilting. You can't run. The ocean knows your name. But there's a way. Find the heart. It's where the star fell, where it all began. The heart? Elara asked, her voice shaking. Caleb's form flickered like a candle about to go out. In the deep, the city. It holds them all. Your mother left a note. Find it. Before Elara could ask more, he was gone, the air warming, the footsteps silent. The room felt empty, but the weight of his words stayed. Elara's hands trembled as she opened the desk drawer, finding a folded paper inside. It was her mother's handwriting, neat but hurried. Elara, beware the call. The lighthouse shows the truth, but the truth pulls you in. Find the heart, but don't trust the light. Lila read over her shoulder, her breath hitching. Your mother was here. She knew. Elara nodded, tears stinging her eyes. She was trying to protect me. The lighthouse shook again, harder this time. Waves slammed the cliff, and a crack split the wall, dust raining down. We have to go, Lila said, grabbing the map and journals. They ran down the stairs, the tower groaning like it might collapse. Outside, the sea was wild, waves clawing at the rocks, glowing faintly with those starry lights. Elara clutched her mother's note, her heart torn between fear and hope. The ocean wanted her, but her mother was fighting it even now. Back in town, they hid in Elara's house, the journals and maps spread on the table. The note was a clue, but it raised more questions. What was the heart? Why couldn't she trust? The light? The whispers were louder now, seeping through the walls, calling her name. She felt them in her bones, pulling her toward the sea. Lila stayed close, her face set. We'll figure it out, together. Elara nodded, but doubt gnawed at her. The lighthouse had shown them the truth. Its light revealed the shadows, but it also woke them. Caleb's ghost had warned her, and her mother's note echoed it. The ocean was alive, tied to something vast and ancient, something that stretched beyond the stars. That night, Elara dreamed again. She was in the lighthouse, the lamp blazing, but the light wasn't white. It was black, like liquid night. It poured into the sea, and the shadows rose, not to flee but to dance. They sang, their voices a chorus of longing, promising wonders, cities of starlight, oceans that spanned worlds. Her mother stood among them, reaching out, her eyes glowing like Caleb's. Find the heart, her mother said, but don't let it take you. Elara woke, her heart racing. The whispers were in her, room now soft but clear. Elara, come. She lit a candle, its flame weak against the dark. Outside, the sea glowed, shapes moving under the surface, watching. She knew what she had to do. The map showed the underwater paths leading to the city. The heart was there, whatever it was. But the lighthouse had changed things. Its light had stirred the ocean, made the shadows bolder. She and Lila would need to be careful, smarter than Caleb, stronger than her mother. The next day, they planned. The map pointed to a cove where the paths began, a place divers avoided. Tom, the fisherman, might have gear, but after his disappearance, they'd need to find it themselves. Elara felt the pull stronger now, her feet itching to walk to the sea. She tied a rope around her ankle at night, anchoring herself to the bed, but even in sleep, the ocean called. Lila found her staring at the water from the cliff, her eyes distant. You okay? Lila asked. Elara shook her head. It's in me. Lila, I feel it. like it's part of me. Lila took her hand. We'll fight it. We'll find the heart, free your mother, and end this. But as they stood there, the sea whispered, louder than ever. Shapes moved below, closer now, their eyes like stars in the deep. Elara felt their gaze, not just on her body, but on her soul. The lighthouse had opened a door, and the shadows were stepping through. Chapter 4. Stars in the abyss. Elara stood on the beach at dusk, the sky bruised purple, the sea whispering her name. The air was cool, heavy with salt and secrets, and the sand crunched under her boots like broken shells. Her mother's note, tucked in her pocket, felt like a stone against her heart. Find the heart, but don't trust the light, it had said. The lighthouse had shown her the shadows, their glowing eyes and twisting forms, but it also woke something in the ocean, something that wanted her more than ever. The pull was stronger now, a tug in her chest, urging her toward the waves. Lila stood beside her, clutching the map they'd found in the lighthouse. Its lines traced paths under the water, leading to a place marked the city. Elara's dreams were full of it, black spires, glowing orbs, a world that wasn't Earth. She knew she had to see it, to find the heart Caleb's ghost had spoken of. But fear coiled in her gut. The ocean wasn't just water, it was alive, hungry and tied to something bigger, something from the stars. We need to go deeper, Elara said, her voice steady despite the tremble in her hands. The map shows a cove. If we dive there, we might find answers. Lila's green eyes flicked to the sea, nervous. Dive? After what we saw? Those things, they're not fish, Elara. I know, Elara said, but my mother's out there. I felt her in the cave, in the pool. She's alive, Lila. I have to try. Lila nodded, though her face was pale. Tom's shed has diving gear. He used it before the ocean took him. They headed to Tom's house, a small shack near the docks. The door was unlocked, swinging open with a creak. Inside, the air smelled of oil and salt. They found old scuba tanks, masks, and fins, dusty but intact. Elara checked the tanks, her fingers fumbling with the valves. She'd dived once, years ago, with her father before he left Eldridge. The memory stung, but she pushed it aside. This was for her mother. Back at the cove, the sea was calm, reflecting the first stars of night. The map showed a crevice underwater, a narrow path leading to the city. Elara suited up, the gear heavy on her shoulders. Lila helped, her hands shaking. Be careful, she said. I'll stay here. Keep watch. Elara nodded, adjusting her mask. The water was cold as she waded in, biting through the suit. She took a deep breath through the regulator, the hiss of air loud in her ears, and dove. The world above vanished, replaced by a quiet darkness. Her flashlight cut through the water, revealing sand and rocks below. Fish darted away, their scales glinting, but some were wrong. Too many eyes, glowing like tiny stars. She followed the map's path, swimming. Deeper, the water pressed against her, heavy, like it wanted to hold her close. The crevice appeared, a jagged crack in the ocean floor, wide enough for her to slip through. Her heart pounded as she entered, the walls closing in, rough and studded with shells that glowed faintly, like the bone she'd found on the beach. Inside, the crevice widened into Chiongwo, revealing a tunnel. Her flashlight flickered, the beam weak against the dark. The water grew colder, denser, as if it resisted her. Then, light, soft, pulsing light, not from her flashlight, but from the walls. Crystals, embedded in the rock, glowed like stars, casting an eerie blue over everything. Elara swam closer, her breath catching. The crystals weren't just glowing. They moved, pulsing like heartbeats. She touched one and it hummed, warm under her fingers. Images flooded her mind, a meteor falling, crashing into the sea, its core splitting open. Strange life spilled out, merging with the water, becoming something new. The ocean wasn't just alive, it was born from the stars, a cosmic creature that craved company. She pulled her hand back, the visions fading. Her mother's face flashed in her mind, floating in a starry abyss. "Find the heart," her mother had said. Elara swam on, the tunnel narrowing, the crystals brighter. The pull in her chest grew stronger, guiding her like a string tied to her soul. The tunnel opened into a vast chamber, its walls covered in glowing crystals. In the center, a structure loomed, not rock, but something built, smooth and black, like the spires in her dreams. It pulsed with light, slow and steady, like a sleeping giant. Elara's flashlight died, but she didn't need it. The chamber glowed, illuminating shapes in the water, fish, but not fish. Their bodies were long, fluid, with eyes like the shadows. Watching her, one swam close, its starry eyes locked on hers. "Elara," it whispered in her mind, its voice soft, sad. "You've come." She froze, her regulator hissing loudly. The creature didn't attack, just circled, its body shimmering like liquid starlight. More joined it, their movements graceful, almost beautiful. They sang, a low hum that vibrated in her bones, promising peace, eternity. She shook her head, focusing on the structure. It was tall, smooth, with a door-like opening. Inside, more crystals, larger, brighter, their light almost blinding. She swam closer, her body moving without thought, drawn to the glow. The heart, she thought. This is it. She reached out, touching the largest crystal. It burned, not with heat, but with memory. She saw the meteor again, clearer now, its core a living thing falling through space, landing here. It bonded with the sea, creating a mind that stretched across oceans, lonely and vast. It collected souls, not to harm, but to keep, to fill its endless emptiness. Her mother's face appeared, her eyes glowing like the fish. "Elara, go back," she said. "It's not safe." Elara's hand jerked away, her heart racing. The creatures circled closer, their song louder, pulling at her mind. She saw herself staying, floating forever in a starry sea, free of pain, of fear. The temptation was strong, but her mother's voice anchored her. She turned, swimming hard for the tunnel, the creatures following, their voices pleading. "Stay! Stay!" The tunnel seemed longer going back, the crystals dimming as she passed. Her air was low, the regulator sputtering. Panic clawed at her, but she pushed on, the pull weakening with every stroke. She broke the surface, gasping, ripping off her mask. Lila ran into the water, pulling her to shore. "You were gone so long," Lila said, her voice shaking. "What happened?" Elara lay on the sand, staring at the stars above. They looked different now, closer, like they were watching. "I saw it," she said. "The city, the heart. It's alive, Lila, the ocean. It's not from here." Lila helped her sit up, wrapping a blanket around her. "Tell me," Elara explained, her words tumbling out. "The crystals, the creatures, the visions." Her mother, trapped in the deep, still fighting. Lila's face grew paler with every word. "Sam saw it too," she whispered. "He told me about the lights, the voices. I didn't believe him." "It's real," Elara said. "And it wants me. My mother's blood may be mine too. It's connected to that thing, that star that fell." They sat in silence, the sea lapping gently at their feet. The whispers were faint now, but Elara felt them, waiting. She looked at her hands, expecting them to be normal, but her fingertips glowed faintly, like the crystals. She hid them under the blanket, her heart pounding. "We need to go back to the lighthouse," Lila said. "The journals might tell us more." Elara nodded, but fear gripped her. The heart was calling, and she'd felt its power. It wasn't evil, but it was endless, and it wouldn't let go. Back at her house, they pored over Caleb's journals, finding more about the star, a piece of another world, alive, merging with the sea. It created the shadows, the creatures, to guard its heart. But the heart was weakening, needing more souls to stay strong. Elara's dreams that night were vivid. She swam through a starry abyss, her mother beside her, their hands linked. The creatures sang, Their voices beautiful, heartbreaking. "You are ours," they said. "Part of the cosmos." She woke crying, her hands still glowing faintly. The ocean was in her, part of her blood, her soul. The next day, she and Lila planned their next move. The map showed more paths, deeper ones. The heart was the key, but reaching it meant facing the creatures again. Elara's glow hadn't faded, and Lila noticed, her eyes wide. "What's happening to you?" "I don't know," Elara said, hiding her hands. "But I'm not giving up. My mother's still out there." They went to Mr. Harlan, his shop dim and quiet. He listened to Elara's story, his face grim. "The star changed the ocean," he said, "made it something else. Your mother tried to stop it, but it took her. Be careful, girl. It's got its hooks in you now." Elara's throat tightened. "How do I fight it?" Harlan shook his head. "Find the heart. Break it maybe, but no one's ever come back from that deep." That night, Elara stood on the cliff, staring at the sea. It glowed, not with moonlight, but with starlight, the creatures moving below. The whispers were soft, loving, promising her a home in the abyss. She clutched her mother's note, her resolve hardening. The heart was her goal, but the ocean was her enemy, and her kin. Chapter 5. The Cursed Tide. The morning after Elara's dive, Eldridge woke to chaos. The sea had surged overnight, flooding the streets with water that shimmered like oil under the dawn light. It wasn't just water, it carried things. Shells with spirals etched deep, bones glowing faintly, and jewels that hummed when touched. Elara stood at her window, watching the tide recede, leaving its strange gifts behind. The whispers were louder now, not just in her head but in the air, like a chorus of voices calling her name. Her fingertips still glowed, a faint starry light that scared her more than the flood. Lila banged on her door, her red hair wild, her eyes wide with panic. "The town's a mess," she said, stepping inside. "People are sick, Elara. They're hearing things, seeing things. It's the water." Elara's heart sank. She'd felt the ocean's pull since touching the crystal in the abyss, but now it was reaching everyone. She grabbed her coat, the weight of her mother's note heavy in her pocket. "We need to see what's happening." The streets were slick, puddles reflecting the gray sky. Townsfolk gathered near the docks, their faces pale, some coughing as if the air itself was poison. Old Mr. Harlan stood among them, his hands shaking as he held a glowing stone. "It's cursed," he said, voice low. "The tide brought these. They're not from here." Elara picked up a bone from the ground, its surface carved with the same spiral she'd seen in the cave and lighthouse. It was warm, pulsing faintly, like the crystals underwater. She dropped it, her glowing fingertips tingling. "It's the ocean," she said. "It's waking up." A woman, Mrs. Tate, pushed through the crowd, her eyes wild. "My boy's gone," she cried. "He walked into the sea last night singing. I couldn't stop him." Others nodded, murmuring about voices, dreams of starry cities, and a pull they couldn't fight. Lila grabbed Elara's arm. "This is what happened to Sam, and your mother. It's taking more now." Elara's stomach twisted. The ocean wasn't just calling her, it was claiming the whole town. She remembered Caleb's ghost, his warning about the heart, and her mother's note. "Find the heart, but don't trust the light." The tide was a sign, a warning that the ocean's hunger was growing. "We need to do something," Elara said, "before it takes everyone." They went to the library, hoping Miss Lydia had answers. The old building was damp, books swollen from the flood. Lydia sat at her desk, her wrinkled hands flipping through a leather-bound book. "You're back," she said, not looking up. "I knew you would be." "People are sick," Elara said. "The tide brought things. Bones, stones. It's making them hear voices." Lydia nodded, sliding the book toward them. "This is older than the town. It speaks of a tide, a cursed one, that comes when the sea wakes. It says there's a ritual, a way to push it back." Elara and Lila leaned over the book, its pages brittle, smelling of salt and thyme. The ritual was simple but strange. Words to chant, a circle of salt, and a fire lit under the moon. It needed to be done on the beach at the tide's edge to weaken the ocean's grip. "Will it work?" Lila asked. Lydia's eyes were grim. "It worked once, long ago, but the sea remembers. It holds grudges." They spent the day preparing. Elara gathered salt from the shop, Lila found dry wood, and they convinced a few townsfolk to help, Mr. Harlan, Mrs. Tate, and young Ben, whose sister had vanished last week. The group was small, their faces tired, but they trusted Elara. Her mother's name still carried weight in Eldridge. As night fell, the moon hung full, casting silver light over the sea. The tide was high again, waves lapping hungrily at the shore. Elara's heart raced as they set up on the beach, drawing a circle in the sand with salt. The air was thick, the whispers louder, weaving through the wind like threads. She felt the ocean watching, its presence heavy, alive. Mr. Harlan lit the fire, its flames crackling against the dark. The group stood in the circle, holding hands, their shadows long and wavering. Elara read the words from the book, her voice steady despite the fear clawing her chest. "By salt and flame, by moon and night, we bind the tide, we dim its might." The others repeated, their voices shaky but growing stronger. The fire flared, sparks flying like tiny stars. The sea hissed, waves rising higher, crashing against the circle. Elara's glowing fingertips burned, and she gripped Lila's hand, tighter. The whispers turned to screams, angry, desperate, filling her head with visions. Black spires, starry eyes, a heart pulsing in the deep. "Keep going," Lila shouted, her voice cutting through the noise. They chanted louder, the words like a shield. The fire roared, its heat pushing back the cold. The waves slowed, retreating slightly, but then a shadow rose from the water, huge, fluid, its body a tangle of tentacles and glowing eyes. It loomed over the circle, its presence crushing, like gravity pulling them down. Mrs. Tate screamed, dropping the book. Ben stumbled, breaking the circle. The shadow lunged, its voice a chorus in Elara's mind. "You cannot stop us." The boule, fire flickered, weakening, and the tide surged, water flooding the circle, washing away the salt. Elara grabbed the book, shouting the words alone. "By salt and flame, by moon and night." The shadow writhed, its eyes flashing, but it didn't retreat. Instead, it reached for Tom, the fisherman, who'd joined them late. He stood frozen, his eyes glowing like the creatures in the deep. "Tom, run!" Elara yelled, but it was too late. The shadow wrapped around him, its form melting into the water. Tom screamed. A sound cut short as the wave pulled him under, leaving only ripples. The group scattered, the fire dying, the ritual broken. Elara and Lila ran to the cliffs, panting, the book clutched to Elara's chest. The sea calmed, but its victory was clear. Tom was gone, another soul claimed. Back at Elara's house, they sat in silence, the book open on the table. Mr. Harlan, soaked and shaking, spoke first. "It's stronger than before. The ritual's not enough." Lila's eyes were red, her voice small. "Sam, Tom, your mother, it's taking everyone." Elara's hands glowed brighter now, the light pulsing. With her heartbeat, she hid them under the table, fear mixing with anger. "We can't give up. The heart, it's the key. If we find it, we can stop this." Harlan shook his head. "The heart's deep, girl. Deeper than any diver's gone. Your mother tried, and look what happened." Elara's throat tightened. "She's still out there. I saw her, felt her. I'm not losing her again." Lila touched her arm. "We need a better plan. The ritual failed, but maybe there's another way." They turned to the book, its pages filled with cryptic notes. One passage spoke of the heart, a crystal core, born from the star that fell, holding the ocean's power. Destroying it might free the souls, but reaching it meant facing the shadows head-on. Another note in her mother's handwriting was, tucked inside, "The tide is a test. Fight it, Elara, but don't let it break you." Elara's eyes burned with tears. Her mother had known, had fought, and now it was her turn. She looked at Lila, her resolve hardening. "We'll try again, but not the ritual. We need to go to the city, find the heart." Lila nodded, though her face was pale. "How?" "The gear's not enough for a dive that deep." "Tom's boat," Elara said. "It's still at the dock. We can use it to get closer." The next day they prepared, gathering more gear, checking the boat. The town was quieter now, people hiding in their homes, afraid of the tide. The whispers followed Elara everywhere, softer but persistent, like a lover's plea. Her dreams were worse, vivid images of the city, her mother floating among the shadows, her eyes glowing with starlight. "Find me," she said, "but don't stay." Elara woke each night, her hands glowing brighter, her body lighter, as if the ocean was already claiming her. She tied herself to the bed, afraid she'd walk into the sea in her sleep. Lila stayed over, keeping watch, but she was scared too. "You're changing," she whispered one night, staring at Elara's hands. "I know," Elara said, her voice breaking, "but I can't stop now." They set out at dawn, the boat creaking under their weight. The sea was calm, but Elara felt its eyes, hundreds of them, watching from below. The map guided them to a spot where the paths converged, a deep trench, marked on the chart. Elara suited up, her heart pounding. "Stay with the boat," she told Lila. "If I'm not back in an hour, leave." Lila grabbed her arm. "Don't say that. You're coming back." Elara dove, the water swallowing her. The trench was dark, its walls steep and jagged. Her flashlight caught glints of crystal, pulsing like the ones in the tunnel. The pull was stronger here, tugging her deeper. She saw shapes, shadows, their bodies fluid, their eyes like stars. They didn't attack, just watched, guiding her. She reached a ledge where the trench opened into a vast space. Below, the city glowed, spires of black stone, streets lit by orbs just like her dreams. The heart pulsed at its center, a massive crystal, its light blinding. Elara swam toward it, her body humming with its power. The shadows circled, singing, their voices beautiful, heartbreaking. "Stay," they said. "Be one with us." Her mother's face appeared in the crystal, her voice clear. "Elara, go back. The heart will take you." Elara's hand hovered over the crystal, the pull overwhelming. She wanted to stay, to be with her mother, to be free. But Lila's voice echoed in her mind, anchoring her. She turned, swimming hard, the shadows chasing, their song turning to screams. She broke the surface, gasping, Lila pulling her aboard. "You're okay," Lila said, tears in her eyes. Elara nodded, her hands glowing brighter, her body trembling. "I saw it. The heart. It's real, Lila, but it's strong, too strong." They sailed back, the sea watching, waiting. Elara knew the tide would come again, hungrier than before. The heart was her goal, but the ocean was her enemy, and her blood. She clutched her mother's note, vowing to fight, even as the glow spread up her arms, claiming her piece by piece. Chapter 6. Echoes of the void. Elara sat alone in her cliffside house, the night pressing against the windows like a living thing. The sea was quiet, but its silence was a lie. The whispers had become screams, not just in her dreams, but in the waking world, echoing in her skull like a storm trapped inside. Her hands glowed brighter now, the starry light creeping up her wrists, pulsing with her heartbeat. She hid them under her sleeves, afraid of what they meant. The ocean was changing her, pulling her closer to the abyss she'd seen in the city below. The cursed tide had left Eldridge shaken. Tom's loss weighed heavy, his scream still ringing in Elara's ears. The failed ritual had only angered the sea, and the strange gifts it left, bones, jewels, shells, sat in piles outside homes, untouched, glowing faintly under the moon. The town was shrinking, people locking their doors, some packing to leave. But Elara knew running wouldn't help. The ocean's reach was endless, its voice in her blood. Lila had gone home to check on her family, leaving Elara alone with her thoughts and Caleb's journals. She flipped through them, the pages brittle, inked with fear. One entry caught her eye. The echoes come from the void, not the sea. They speak of worlds beyond, of loneliness older than time. The ocean is their mouth, and we are their food. Elara shivered, the words too close to her dreams, visions of dark spaces between stars, where voices cried for company. She closed the journal, her glowing hands trembling. The screams in her head weren't just her mother's now. There were others, countless others, lost souls trapped in the deep. She felt them, their pain, their longing, as if the ocean had woven them into her. Find the heart, her mother had said. But the heart was dangerous, a trap as much as a key. A knock broke her thoughts. Lila stood at the door, her face pale, her red hair tangled from the wind. "I found something," she said, holding up a crumpled paper. "It was in Sam's things. He wrote about a beach cave, not the one we found. Another one, hidden. He said it's where the echoes are loudest." Ilara's heart quickened. "Echoes?" Lila nodded. He heard them too. Said they showed him things, places not on Earth. He thought the cave was a way in, a door to the city. Elara grabbed her coat, the pull in her chest urging her forward. "We need to go, now." The night was cold, the moon half hidden by clouds. They followed Sam's directions, a scribbled map leading to a stretch of beach north of town, where cliffs jutted like broken teeth. The cave's entrance was small, a crack barely visible behind a tangle of seaweed and rock. Elara's lantern cast flickering light as they squeezed inside, the air damp and heavy, smelling of salt and something older, like forgotten graves. The cave twisted downward, its walls slick, carved with spirals that glowed faintly under Elara's touch. Her hands lit the way, their starry glow brighter than the lantern. Lila stayed close, her breath shaky. "This place feels wrong," she whispered. "It's not wrong," Elara said, her voice steady despite the fear in her gut. "It's just not ours." The tunnel opened into a chamber, larger than the last cave, its ceiling lost in shadow. The walls pulsed with crystals, like the ones Elara had seen underwater, but these were darker, their light cold, like stars dying. In the center was a pool, its surface black, reflecting nothing. But below, lights moved, swirling like a galaxy trapped in water. Elara knelt, her glowing hands casting ripples across the pool. The screams in her head grew louder, not angry but desperate, a chorus of voices begging to be heard. She leaned closer, and the water stirred, forming a face. Her mother's, her eyes glowing like the creatures in the deep. "Elara," she said, her voice clear, echoing in the chamber. "You're close. The heart is near." Elara's throat tightened. "Mother, how do I find you?" The face wavered, the water trembling. "The echoes will show you. Listen, but don't stay." Before Elara could ask more, the pool surged, images flooding her mind. She saw planets of endless water, skies filled with stars that sang. Beings moved through the void, not flesh but light and shadow, their forms shifting like the creatures in the sea. They were lonely, ancient, searching for others to join them. The ocean was their bridge, their voice, pulling souls to fill the emptiness. Lila grabbed her arm, pulling her back. "Elara, stop. You're glowing." Elara looked down, her hands blazing now, light spreading up her arms. The screams were deafening, not just in her head, but in the cave, bouncing off the walls. The crystals pulsed faster, the pool bubbling, water rising like a tide. "We need to go," Lila said, her voice shaking, but Elara couldn't move. The echoes held her, showing more, cities of black stone, streets lit by orbs, souls trapped in crystals, their voices part of the chorus. Her mother was there, her face clear among the others, her eyes pleading. "Fight it, Elara. Don't let it take you." The cave shook, rocks falling like teeth snapping shut. Lila yanked Elara to her feet, dragging her toward the tunnel. Water chased them, cold and alive, lapping at their heels. They stumbled out, collapsing on the beach, the sea roaring behind them. The cave's entrance sealed itself, rock crumbling, shutting the echoes inside. Elara panted, her hand still glowing, her body trembling. "I saw her," she said. "She's trapped, Lila, in the city, with the others." Lila's eyes were wide, her face pale. What were those voices? They weren't human. "They're not," Elara said. "They're from the void. The ocean's just their way in." Back at her house, they sat in silence, the scream still echoing in Elara's head. She wrapped her hands in cloth, hiding the glow, but it seeped through, lighting the room like a star. Lila opened Sam's paper again, reading his last words. "The echoes are the truth. They show you everything, but they take everything too. We need to go back," Elara said, her voice firm. "The cave showed me the city, the heart's there, and my mother." Lila shook her head. "It almost took you, Elara. You were fading, like you weren't here." Elara's stomach twisted. She'd felt it, the pull, stronger than ever, wanting her to stay in the pool, to join the voices. But her mother's plea kept her grounded. "I won't let it win," she said. "We'll find a way." They went to Mr. Harlan the next day, his shop dim, the air thick with the smell of fish and fear. He listened, his eyes narrowing as Elara described the cave, the echoes, her glowing hands. "The void," he said, his voice low. "That's what Caleb called it. A place between stars, where things live that don't belong here. The ocean's their door, and you're opening it wider every time you listen." "How do I stop it?" Elara asked, her hands hidden under her coat. Harlan's face was grim. "The heart's the source. Break it, and you might break the connection. But it's deep, girl, deeper than you've gone, and it's awake now, thanks to you." Elara's heart sank. The tide, the ritual, her dive. They'd stirred the ocean, made it hungrier. She felt its pull even now, urging her to the cliffs, to the water. "What about my mother?" she asked. Harlan sighed. "She's part of it now. But if you break the heart, you might free her, or lose yourself." That night, Elara's dreams were worse. She stood in the void, stars screaming around her, their light cold and sharp. The shadows were there, not just creatures, but beings, vast and ancient, their forms stretching across galaxies. They sang, their voices beautiful, heartbreaking, promising peace. Her mother stood among them, her hands reaching out, glowing like Elara's. "Don't stay," she said, her voice breaking. Elara woke, her body glowing brighter, the light now at her elbows. She tied herself to the bed, afraid she'd walk to the sea in her sleep. Lila stayed, keeping watch, but her eyes were tired, scared. "You're changing," she said, her voice small. "Like Sam did." "I know," Elara said, tears falling. "But I can't stop. Not yet." They planned their next move, studying the map, Caleb's journals, Sam's notes. The cave was a door, but the city was the key. The heart was there, pulsing with the ocean's power. Elara knew she'd have to dive again, deeper than before, facing the shadows and the void itself. The sea was calm the next day, but its calm was a trap. Elara felt it watching, waiting, its whispers soft but constant. She and Lila went to the docks, checking Tom's boat, preparing for another dive. The town was quieter, doors barred, windows dark. The tide's gifts glowed on the shore, untouched, like warnings. As they worked, a scream echoed from the beach. They ran, finding Mrs. Tate kneeling by the water, her hands clutching a glowing jewel. Her eyes were wide, glowing like Elara's hands. "It called me," she whispered, before standing and walking into the waves. Elara lunged, but Lila held her back. The sea swallowed Mrs. Tate, leaving only ripples. Elara's hands burned, the glow spreading to her shoulders. She felt the void in her, its echoes louder, pulling her apart. But her mother's voice was stronger, a thread holding her together. She clutched Lila's hand, her resolve hardening. "We're going to the city," she said. "We're ending this." Lila nodded, though her face was pale. The sea watched, its surface smooth, its depths alive with starry eyes. Elara knew the void was waiting, its echoes calling her home. But she would fight. For her mother. For Eldridge, for herself, even if it meant losing everything. Chapter 7. The eternal pull. Elara woke with a jolt, her body jerking against the rope tied to her bedpost. The room was dark, the air thick with salt and the faint hum of whispers. Her hands glowed brighter now, the starry light creeping past her elbows, pulsing like a heartbeat. She felt the ocean inside her, tugging at her bones, urging her to walk to the cliffs and dive into the waves. The screams from the void, heard in the cave, echoed in her mind, mixing with her mother's voice. Don't stay. But the pull was stronger, a force as old as the stars, and it was winning. She untied herself, her glowing hands trembling, and lit a candle. Its flame flickered, weak against the dark, as if the ocean's presence dimmed it. The town of Eldridge was crumbling. Under the cursed tide's weight, more people vanishing, their screams swallowed by the sea. Mrs. Tate's loss yesterday had shaken Elara, her glowing eyes a mirror of Elara's hands. The ocean wasn't just calling now, it was claiming, and Elara felt it in her blood. Lila arrived at dawn, her face pale, her red hair tangled from a sleepless night. "You look worse," she said, eyeing Elara's glowing arms. "It's changing you." Elara hid her hands under a shawl, her throat tight. "I know, but I can't stop. The heart's the only way to free my mother, to save the town." Lila set Sam's notes on the table, her voice low. Sam wrote about a pull too. He said it felt like gravity, like the sea was his home. He fought it, but it took him. Elara nodded, her mother's note burning in her pocket. "Fight it, Elara, but don't let it break you." She felt broken already, her body not fully her own. Last night, she'd caught herself walking to the door, barefoot, her glowing hands reaching for the handle. The rope was the only thing keeping her from the waves. "We need to know more," Elara said. "The heart's in the city, but we don't know how to reach it without losing ourselves." Lila's eyes were grim. "There's someone who might help. Old Widow Crane, the town elder. She's older than Harlan, knows things even he doesn't." Sam went to her before he vanished. They set out for Widow Crane's house, a crooked shack at the edge of Eldridge, surrounded by twisted trees that looked like they'd grown in pain. The air was heavy, the sea's whispers following them like shadows. Elara's feet dragged, the pull stronger with every step, as if the ocean knew where she was going. Widow Crane was ancient, her skin like crumpled paper, her eyes sharp despite her age. She sat by a fire, her hands knotted with arthritis, a shawl draped over her shoulders. "You're Mara's girl," she said, her voice like dry leaves. "I see her in you. And the sea." Elara's heart skipped. "You knew my mother?" Crane nodded. "She came to me, like you, asking about the ocean. She knew it was alive, tied to something beyond. She said it called her name, just like it's calling yours." Elara showed her glowing hands, the light casting eerie shadows on the walls. "It's changing me. I feel it pulling every moment. How do I fight it?" Crane's eyes narrowed, studying the glow. "You're part star, child. Your bloodline's tied to the meteor that fell long ago. It brought life to the sea, made it what it is. Your mother carried it, and so do you. That's why it wants you so bad." Lila leaned forward. "Part star? What does that mean?" Crane's voice dropped like she feared the walls would hear. The meteor wasn't just rock. It was alive, from a place between stars. It bonded with the ocean, gave it a mind, a hunger. "Your family, Elara, has its mark. You're kin to it in a way." Elara's stomach twisted. "Kin? To the ocean?" Crane nodded. "That's why it pulls you. It feels you, knows you. But it's not evil. Just lonely. It wants you home." Elara's hands burned, the glow flaring. "How do I stop it?" Crane's face darkened. "Find the heart, like your mother tried. It's the core of the star, deep in the city. Break it and you might break the pull. But it'll fight you, child. It fought Mara and she's still down there." Lila's voice was small. "Is there no other way?" Crane shook her head. "The ocean doesn't let go. But you're strong." "Elara," Stronger than Mara, maybe. Test it. See how deep the bond goes. Elara frowned. Test it? Crane pointed to a bucket of seawater by the fire, its surface shimmering faintly. Touch it. See what it does. Elara hesitated, her glowing hands trembling. She knelt by the bucket, the whispers growing louder, urging her on. She dipped her fingers in, and the water glowed, swirling around her hand like it was alive. Her body felt light, weightless, as if she could float away. The room faded and she saw the city again, black spires, starry lights, her mother's face among the shadows. The pull was gentle now, loving, promising peace. Lila grabbed her shoulder, yanking her back. The water splashed, the glow fading. Elara gasped, her body heavy again, her hands burning. What happened? Lila asked, her voice shaking. Elara's voice was hoarse. I floated, like I wasn't here. Crane's eyes were sad. The sea's in your blood. You can fight it, but it's part of you. Be careful, or it'll take you whole. They left Crane's house, the weight of her words heavy. The sea was calm, but Elara felt its eyes watching from below. Her hands glowed brighter, the light, now at her shoulders, creeping toward her chest. She felt lighter, like gravity was losing its hold. That night, she tied herself tighter to the bed, the rope cutting into her skin. Her dreams were vivid, the void closer now. She floated through space, stars screaming around her, their light cold and sharp. The shadows were there, not just creatures but beings, vast and ancient, their forms stretching across galaxies. They sang, their voices beautiful, heartbreaking. Her mother stood among them, her hands glowing, her eyes pleading. Fight it, Elara, she said. Don't let it take you. Elara woke, her body glowing like a star, the light pulsing through her veins. She untied herself, her movements slow, deliberate. The pull was constant now, not just a tug but a tide, pulling her toward the cliffs. She stumbled outside, the night air cold, the sea glowing with starry lights. Shapes moved below, their eyes watching, calling. Lila found her there, grabbing her arm. Elara, stop, you're too close. Elara blinked, her feet inches from the cliff's edge. The sea roared below, waves reaching like hands. I didn't mean to, she whispered, her voice shaking. It's so strong. Lila pulled her back, her face pale. We need to move faster. The heart's the only way. They went to Tom's boat, checking the diving gear again. The map showed the trench, deeper than before, where the city lay. Elara's hands glowed through her gloves, lighting the deck like a lantern. Lila watched, her eyes wide. It's worse, she said. You're fading, Elara nodded, her throat tight. I feel it, but I have to try. For my mother, for Sam, for everyone. They sailed at dawn, the sea calm but heavy, like it was holding its breath. Elara suited up, the gear feeling heavier, her body lighter. Stay with the boat, she told Lila. If I don't come back, don't come after me. Lila's eyes filled with tears. Don't say that. You're coming back. Elara dove, the water swallowing her like a mouth. The trench was darker, its walls jagged, studded with glowing crystals. The pull was overwhelming, guiding her deeper, her body glowing brighter with every stroke. She saw the shadows, their starry eyes watching, their voices singing. Come home, they said. Be one with us. The city appeared below, its spires, sharper, its lights brighter. The heart pulsed at its center, a massive crystal, its glow blinding. Elara swam toward it, her body humming, the pull like gravity now, unbreakable. She reached out, her glowing hand inches from the crystal, and her mother's face appeared, her voice clear. Elara, go back. It's too strong. Elara hesitated, the song filling her mind, promising peace, eternity. She saw herself staying, floating forever in the starry sea, her mother by her side. But Lila's face flashed in her mind, anchoring her. She pulled back, swimming hard, the shadows chasing, their song turning to screams. She broke the surface, gasping, Lila pulling her aboard. You're okay, Lila said, her voice breaking. But your eyes, they're glowing. Elara touched her face, feeling the warmth, the light. "It's in me," she said. "The star, the ocean. I'm part of it." They sailed back, the sea watching, its surface smooth but alive. Elara's body glowed, her skin shimmering like the crystals. She felt the void in her, its echoes louder, pulling her apart. But her mother's voice was stronger, a thread holding her together. Back in Eldridge, they hid in Elara's house, the whispers constant now, seeping through the walls. Lila opened the journals, finding a sketch of the heart, a crystal core, pulsing with the star's life. "If we break it," she said, "we might end this." Elara nodded, her glowing eyes fixed on the sea outside. "But it's deep, and it knows I'm coming." The pull was eternal, a force she couldn't escape. But she would fight, for her mother, for Eldridge, for herself, even if it meant becoming something else. The sea watched, its starry eyes waiting, and Elara knew the next dive would be her last. Chapter 8. Secrets of the Moonlit Sea. The moon hung full over Eldridge, its silver light turning the sea into a mirror of stars. Elara stood on the cliff, her glowing hands and eyes casting a faint shimmer, like she was part of the night itself. The ocean's pull was relentless now, a tide in her blood, tugging her toward the waves. Her dreams were no longer dreams but visions, vivid glimpses of the city below, its black spires and glowing orbs, where her mother waited, trapped in the heart's light. The whispers had softened, becoming a song, beautiful and haunting, promising peace if she surrendered. Lila sat inside Elara's house, poring over Caleb's journals, her face drawn with worry. "You're glowing more," she said, glancing at Elara through the window. "It's not just your hands now." Elara nodded, her throat tight. The glow had spread to her chest, a starry warmth pulsing under her skin. She felt lighter, as if gravity was slipping, the ocean calling her home. "I can't fight it much longer," she said, stepping inside. "But I saw something last night, in the water. The moon showed me." Lila's eyes widened. "Showed you what?" Elara sat, her glowing hands hidden under a blanket. Shapes, lights. They moved with the moonlight, like they were answering it. "I think the sea's different under a full moon. It reveals things." Lila flipped through the journals, finding a page marked with a moon sketch. Caleb wrote about this. "The moonlit sea speaks truth. It shows the city, the heart, and the cost. He says the light brings visions, but they come with a price." Elara's heart quickened. "What price?" Lila read on, her voice low. "The moon shows the ocean's secrets, but it binds you closer. Look too long, and you'll never leave." Elara shivered, remembering the pull in her dreams, the song that made her want to stay. But her mother's voice, "Fight it, Elara," kept her anchored. "We need to see it," she said. "If the moon shows the truth, it might show us how to reach the heart." They planned to go to the cliffs at midnight when the moon was highest. The town was silent, doors barred, windows dark. The cursed tide's gifts, glowing bones, humming jewels, littered the streets, untouched, like warnings. Elara's glow made her a beacon, and she wrapped herself in a cloak, hiding the light. Lila carried a lantern, its flame weak against the moon's brightness. At the cliff's edge, the sea was alive, its surface shimmering with starry lights. Waves lapped gently, but Elara felt their hunger, their eyes watching from below. The bow. Moon's light danced on the water, and shapes began to form. Not shadows, but images, clear as glass. Spires rose, black and smooth, streets winding through a city that wasn't Earth's. Orbs glowed, pulsing like the heart, and figures moved, fluid, starry-eyed, singing a song that vibrated in Elara's bones. She knelt, her glowing hands touching the ground, the song louder now. The sea showed her mother, floating in the city, her eyes glowing, her face calm but sad. "Elara," she said, her voice clear in the moonlight. "I stayed to protect you. The ocean guards something bigger, something from the stars. It needs souls to keep it sealed." Elara's breath caught. "Sealed? What is it?" Her mother's image wavered. the waves rippling. A door to the void. The heart holds it shut, but it's weakening. I gave myself to strengthen it, to keep it closed. But it wants you now. Elara's eyes burned with tears. I'll free you. I'll break the heart. Her mother's face darkened. Breaking it might open the door. Be careful, Elara. The moon shows truth, but the truth is heavy. The vision faded, the waves calming, but the song lingered, pulling at Elara's heart. Then, a wave surged, higher than the rest, and something washed ashore. A small star-shaped amulet, glowing like her hands. She picked it up, its warmth spreading through her, and new visions flooded her mind. Planets of water, skies of screaming. Stars, beings that weren't alive or dead, but something else. Waiting beyond the door her mother spoke of. Lila grabbed her arm. Elara, your eyes! They're brighter! Elara blinked, the amulet burning in her hand. It was a gift from the sea, but it came with a cost. She felt weaker, her body lighter, as if the glow was eating her from within. It's showing me more, she said, her voice shaking. The ocean's not just hungry, it's protecting something. They hurried back to the house, the amulet glowing on the table. Lila opened the journals, finding a sketch of it. Caleb drew this, she said. He called it a key. Said it opens the city, but it binds you to the sea. Elara's stomach twisted. The amulet was warm, its light pulsing with her heartbeat. She saw flashes. Her mother fighting the pull, choosing to stay in the city to keep the door closed. The ocean wasn't evil. It was a guardian, holding back horrors from the void. But it needed souls, and Elara's was marked. We need to understand this, Elara said, clutching the amulet. If the heart's a lock, breaking it might let something out. But if we don't, it'll take everyone. Lila nodded, her face pale. What's beyond the door? Elara shook her head. The vision's too vast, too strange. Something old, something that makes the shadows look small. They went to Mr. Harlan the next day, his shop dim, the air thick with fear. He studied the amulet, his hands shaking. Your mother had one, he said. She wore it when she went to the sea. It let her see. But it pulled her in deeper. Elara's throat tightened. She stayed to protect us, to keep something locked away. Harlan's eyes were grim. The void. The star that fell opened a crack, and the ocean's been holding. It shut ever since. Your mother knew. She gave herself to it. Elara's hands glowed brighter, the amulet's light blending with hers. How do I choose? Free her and risk the void, or let the ocean take me? Harlan sighed. Your part, Star Girl. The sea knows you. You might be strong enough to face the heart, but you'll need more than courage. They spent the day studying the journals, Sam's notes, and the amulet. Caleb had written of the moonlit sea, how its visions showed the city's truth but weakened those who looked. The amulet was a bridge, letting Elara see the void, but each vision tied her closer to the sea. Her glow was spreading, her body lighter, her dreams more real. She saw her mother every night now, floating in the city, her voice a thread in the song. That night, Elara stood on the beach, the amulet around her neck. The moon was waning, but its light still stirred the sea. Waves rose, forming shapes, spires, orbs, faces of the lost. Her mother appeared, her voice clear. The heart is the key, Elara, but it's also the door. Choose wisely. Elara's heart ached. She wanted her mother back, but the void shadows loomed in her mind, vast and hungry. The amulet burned, showing more, beings beyond the door, their forms shifting, their voices a scream that shook the stars. The ocean was their jailer, and she was its kin. Lila stayed close, her hand on Elara's shoulder. We'll find a way, she said. We'll save your mother without opening that door. But Elara wasn't sure. The pull was stronger, her glow brighter, her body fading into light. She felt the void in her, its echoes mixing with her blood. The amulet was a gift, but also a chain, binding her to the sea's secrets. They planned another dive, using Tom's boat, aiming for the trench where the city lay. The heart was there, pulsing with the star's life. Elara knew it was her last chance. Free her mother or lose herself. The amulet would guide her, but its visions were a trap, each one pulling her closer to the void. As they prepared, the sea stirred, waves crashing higher, glowing with starry light. Shapes moved below, their eyes watching, their song louder. Elara's glow spread to her chest, her heart pulsing with the same rhythm as the heart below. She tied herself to the bed each night, but the rope felt weaker, the pull stronger. Lila watched her, her eyes filled with fear. "You're slipping away," she said. "I can't lose you too." Elara clutched the amulet, its warmth both comfort and curse. "I'll fight," she said. "For my mother, for you, for me." But as she stood on the cliff, the moonlit sea, singing below, she felt the truth. The ocean was her home, her blood, her fate. The secrets it showed were hers to bear, but they came with a price she wasn't sure she could pay. The heart waited, and with it the choice, freedom or ruin. Chapter 9. The awakening horror, the sea roared under a sky torn by storm clouds, its waves crashing against Eldridge's cliffs like a beast clawing to be free. Elara stood on the shore, the star-shaped amulet around her neck pulsing with a warmth that matched the glow now covering her arms and chest. Her eyes shimmered with starry light, reflecting the chaos below. The ocean's song was no longer a whisper, but a scream, a chorus, of voices from the void that shook her bones. The pull was stronger, not just tugging but dragging, as if the sea had wrapped chains around her soul. Lila stood beside her, clutching the map from the lighthouse, her face pale under the flickering light of their lantern. "It's worse," she said, her voice barely audible over the waves. "The sea's angry. Ever since you touched the amulet, it's been waking." Elara nodded, her throat tight. The moonlit visions had shown her the truth. The ocean was a guardian, holding back a door to the void, powered by the heart. Oh, crystal born from a fallen star. Her mother had given herself to keep it sealed, but the heart was weakening, and the sea was hungry for more souls. Elara's glow marked her as kin to the star, making her the perfect offering. But she wouldn't surrender. Not yet. "We need to go back to the city," Elara said, her voice firm despite the fear in her gut. "The heart's there. If we can weaken it, we might free my mother and stop this." Lila's eyes widened. "Weaken it? You saw what happened with the ritual." The sea took Tom. "It's not playing, Elara." "I know," Elara said, clutching the amulet. Its visions were clearer now, showing her the city's spires, the heart's pulse, and something else, something vast, stirring in the deep. But we're running out of time. The town's falling apart. Eldridge was a ghost of itself. The cursed tide had left more gifts, bones, jewels, shells, all glowing with unearthly light. People were sick, their eyes glowing like Elara's, their voices whispering names not their own. Some had walked into the sea, singing just like Mrs. Tate. The whispers were everywhere, seeping through walls, filling dreams with starry cities and endless voids. They went to Mr. Harlan's shop, hoping for answers. The old man sat behind the counter, his hands trembling as he sorted fish that shimmered with strange colors. "It's awake," he said, not looking up. "The thing in the deep. Your dives, your amulet, they've stirred it." "What is it?" Elara asked, her glowing hands hidden under her cloak. Harlan's eyes were grim. "The heart's guardian. The star brought it long ago. It sleeps in the city, but it's waking now, hungry for more than souls. It wants the door open." Lila clutched the map tighter. "The void? That's what's behind the door?" Harlan nodded. "Something older than time, bigger than stars. The ocean holds it back, but it needs power, souls, blood, life. Your mother, Elara, she knew. She gave herself to keep it shut." Elara's heart ached. "I'm going to free her. I'll face the heart, the guardian, whatever it takes." Harlan shook his head. "You're part star, girl. It wants you most of all. Be careful, or you'll open the door yourself." They left, the weight of his words heavy. Elara felt the amulet's warmth, its visions flashing. Her mother, trapped in the city, her eyes pleading. The sea was calling, its song a mix of love and hunger, promising peace if she joined it. But she felt the horror beneath, the thing waking in the deep. That night, the storm grew wilder. Thunder boomed like giants fighting, and lightning lit the sea, revealing shapes, huge twisting forms, bigger than the shadows she'd seen. Boats at the dock snapped free, dragged under by unseen hands. Screams echoed from the town, more people vanishing into the waves. Elara and Lila ran to the beach, the lantern swinging wildly. The sea was alive, glowing with starry light, waves rising higher than houses. Then it emerged, a massive shape, breaking the surface, its body a tangle of tentacles, black as night, studded with eyes like black holes, sucking in the light. It towered over the shore, its presence crushing, like a weight on the soul. Elara froze, the amulet burning against her chest. The creature's voice filled her mind, not a whisper, but a roar. "You are ours. The door must open." Visions flooded. Her, planets crumbling, stars screaming, a void that swallowed everything. The creature was its herald, the guardian of the heart, and it was awake. Lila screamed, pulling Elara back. "Run!" They fled to the cliffs, the creature's tentacles lashing the shore, splintering rocks like twigs. The sea roared, waves chasing them, glowing with the same light as Elara's body. They hid in a cave, panting, the lantern flickering. "What was that?" Lila gasped. "The guardian," Elara said, her voice shaking. "It's protecting the heart. It knows I'm coming." Lila's eyes were wide. "We can't fight that. It's not from here." Elara clutched the amulet, its warmth grounding her. "We don't have a choice. If we don't stop the heart, it'll take everyone." They went back to Elara's house, the storm raging outside. The journals were spread on the table, Caleb's words stark. "The guardian sleeps until the heart is threatened. It's the sea's last defense, a piece of the void itself." Another note, in her mother's handwriting, was tucked inside. "The lighthouse can hurt it. The light burns the shadows." Elara's heart quickened. "The lighthouse. We fixed the lamp. Maybe it can weaken the guardian." Lila nodded, though her face was pale. "It's risky. The light stirred the sea last time. It might make things worse." "We have to try," Elara said. "It's our only weapon." They waited until dawn, when the storm eased, the sea still glowing but calmer. The town was in ruins, houses flooded, streets littered with glowing debris. They climbed to the lighthouse, its tower standing firm despite the chaos. The lamp was intact, its crystal lens gleaming. Elara's glowing hands lit the room, blending with the lens's shimmer. Lila worked the gears, her hands steady despite her fear. The lamp blazed, its beam cutting through the morning mist, sweeping over the sea. The water hissed, waves recoiling, and the guardian rose again, its massive form breaking the surface. Its eyes glowed, not with starlight, but with darkness, like holes in the world. It screamed, a sound that shook the lighthouse, cracking the walls. Elara held the amulet, its visions guiding her. She saw the heart, pulsing in the city, the guardian tied to it. "Keep the light on!" she shouted, focusing the beam. The guardian writhed, its tentacles lashing, but the light burned, blackening its flesh. It sank, its scream fading. But Elara knew it wasn't gone, just weakened. The lighthouse shook, the lamp flickering. Lila grabbed her arm. "We can't stay. It's coming back." They ran, the sea roaring behind them, waves crashing higher. Back in town, they hid in Harlan's shop, the old man waiting. "You heard it," he said, his voice grim. "But it's not dead. The heart's still beating." Elara's glow was brighter, her body lighter, as if she was fading into light. The amulet burned, showing more. Her mother fighting the guardian, her sacrifice keeping the void sealed. "I have to go to the city," Elara said. "I have to face it." Lila's eyes filled with tears. "You're barely here, Elara. Your glow, it's taking you." Elara nodded, her heart heavy. "I know, but I can't let it win." They planned the final dive, using Tom's boat, the map guiding them to the trench. The amulet would lead Elara to the heart, but the guardian would be waiting. She felt the void in her, its screams louder, her body glowing like a star. The sea was her kin, but also her enemy, and the choice was coming: save her mother or save the world. As they prepared, the sea stirred, glowing brighter, the guardian's eyes watching from below. Elara clutched the amulet, its warmth her only anchor. The lighthouse had given them a chance, but the horror was awake, and it would not let go easily. The heart waited, and with it, the fate of Eldridge, and beyond. Chapter 10. Bonds Unbroken. The storm had quieted, but the sea around Eldridge pulsed with an eerie glow, its surface alive with starry lights that mirrored the glow now consuming Elara's body. Her skin shimmered from her hands to her chest, her eyes blazing with the same unearthly light as the creatures in the deep. The amulet around her neck burned, its visions sharper, showing the city below, black spires, glowing orbs, and the heart, a crystal pulsing with cosmic power. The ocean's pull was a constant ache, tugging her toward the waves, whispering promises of peace if she surrendered. But her mother's voice, faint but fierce, kept her fighting. "Fight it, Elara. Don't stay." Lila sat across from her in the small house, the map and journals spread on the table, their pages worn from constant handling. The air was thick, the whispers seeping through the walls, louder since the guardian's awakening. The massive creature, tentacles black as night, eyes like voids, had retreated under the lighthouse's beam, but Elara felt its presence, watching, waiting. The heart was its core, and her mother was trapped there, her sacrifice holding the void's door shut. "We're running out of time," Elara said, her voice steady despite the glow creeping up her neck. "The guardian's awake. It knows I'm coming for the heart." Lila's face was pale, her red hair tangled from sleepless nights. "You're barely you anymore," she said, her voice breaking. "Your glow, it's eating you. What if you don't come back?" Elara clutched the amulet, its warmth grounding her. "I have to try. For my mother, for Sam, for everyone the sea's taken." Lila's eyes filled with tears. "Sam's gone, Elara. I can't lose you too." Elara reached for her hand, their fingers linking. "You won't. We're stronger together. The bonds between us, they're what keep me here." Lila nodded, wiping her eyes. "Then we go together. To the city, to the heart." They planned the dive, using Tom's boat and the last of the scuba gear. The map showed the trench, deeper than Elara had gone, where the city lay. The amulet would guide her, its visions showing the path, but the guardian would be there, and the void screams were growing louder. Elara's glow was a beacon now, marking her as the sea's kin, and she felt her body fading, becoming light. That night, Elara's dreams were different. She stood in a realm of stars, not water, the void stretching endless around her. Her mother appeared, her form glowing, her eyes sad but strong. "Elara," she said, her voice clear. "The heart is the key, but it's also a trap. Break it and you free us, but the void might open. Our bond, it's your strength. Hold on to it." Elara reached for her, their hands touching, a warmth spreading through her. "I'll save you," she said, tears falling like stars. "I won't let you go." Her mother's face softened. "Bonds are unbroken, Elara, even in the deep." She woke, her glow brighter, her body lighter, the amulet pulsing against her chest. Lila was asleep on the floor, her hands still clutching Elara's. The whispers were a chorus now, singing of the city, the heart, the void. Elara untied herself from the bed, her movements slow, as if she might float away. At dawn, they sailed to the trench, the sea calm but heavy, its surface glowing, with starry eyes. Elara suited up, the gear tight against her shimmering skin. Lila stayed on the boat, her face set with determination. "I'm coming with you," she said, pulling on a mask. Elara shook her head. "It's too dangerous. The guardian, I'm not letting you go alone." Lila cut in. "Sam's down there too." We do this together." Elara nodded, her throat tight. They dove, the water swallowing them, cold and alive. The trench was dark, its walls jagged, studded with crystals that pulsed like the heart. Elara's glow lit, the way blending with the amulet's light. The pull was stronger here, a tide in her blood, urging her deeper. Shadows moved, their starry eyes watching, their song a mix of love and hunger. The city appeared below, its spires sharper, its orbs brighter. The heart pulsed at its center, a massive crystal, its light blinding. But something was wrong. Lila gasped through her regulator, pointing. A web of light, like glowing threads, stretched across the city, holding shapes, human shapes, their eyes glowing, their faces frozen in peace. Elara's heart stopped. One was Sam, his red hair floating like fire. Another was her mother, her face calm, her hands reaching out. "Lila," Elara said through the comms, her voice shaking. "They're trapped." Lila's voice crackled. "Sam, he's here." They swam closer, the web's light burning against Elara's glow. She touched a thread, and visions flooded her. The void, vast and screaming, beings that weren't alive or dead, waiting beyond. The door. Her mother's voice broke through. "Free us, Elara. Break the web." Elara pulled at the threads, her glowing hands cutting through like fire. Sam's form stirred, his eyes blinking, but the Guardian's scream shook the city. It rose, its tentacles blacker than the deep, its eyes like black holes, sucking in light. "You cannot take them!" It roared, its voice a storm in her mind. Lila screamed, her regulator bubbling. A tentacle lashed out, wrapping around her, pulling her toward the heart. Elara dove, her hands blazing, cutting the threads around Sam. He floated free, his eyes clearing, but the Guardian's grip tightened on Lila. "Elara!" Lila cried, her voice fading. Elara swam hard, the amulet burning, its visions guiding her. She reached Lila, her glowing hands slicing the tentacle. It screamed, releasing her, but the effort drained Elara, her glow flickering. Lila grabbed her, pulling her toward the surface, the city shaking below. They broke the water, gasping, the boat rocking in the waves. Lila's face was pale, her eyes wide. "You saved me," she said, her voice breaking. "But Sam, he's free, but not here." Elara nodded, her body trembling, the glow dimmer now. "I felt him. He's still in the city, but not trapped. My mother too." They sailed back, the sea watching, its surface alive with starry eyes. Elara's glow had faded slightly, but her body felt wrong, lighter, as if part of her had stayed below. The amulet burned, showing flashes, her mother Sam, floating free but still bound to the heart. Breaking the web had weakened the Guardian, but it had cost her. Her memories were fading, faces blurring, her life slipping like sand. Back. In Eldridge, they hid in Harlan's shop, the town quieter, the air thick with fear. Harlan studied Elara's glow, his face grim. "You broke something down there," he said. "But it took something from you." Elara's hands shook, the amulet heavy around her neck. "My memories, they're fading, but I freed them, Harlan. They're not trapped anymore." Harlan's eyes softened. "You're strong, girl, like your mother. But the heart's still beating. The Guardian's not done." Lila opened the journals, finding a note in Caleb's shaky hand. "The web holds the souls, but the heart holds the power. Break one, weaken the other." Another, in her mother's writing. "The bond is your anchor, Elara. Hold it tight." Elara's heart ached. Her bond with Lila, with her mother, had kept her from the void. But the cost was high. Her memories, herself, fading with each dive. She felt the sea in her, its song louder, her glow brighter again as night fell. They planned the final dive, deeper than ever, to the heart itself. The amulet would guide them, but the Guardian would be waiting, stronger now. Elara's glow was a beacon, marking her as the sea's kin, but also its target. Lila's hand stayed on hers, their bond unbroken, even as Elara felt herself slipping. away. As they prepared, the sea stirred, waves crashing, glowing with starry light. The Guardian's eyes watched from below, its scream echoing in Elara's mind. She clutched the amulet, its warmth her only anchor. The heart was close, but so was the void, and the choice was coming: free her mother or lose herself. Chapter 11. Cosmic Descent. The sky above Eldridge burned with falling stars, streaks of light tearing through the night like wounds. Elara stood on the cliff, her body glowing brighter than ever, the starry light now covering her arms, chest, and neck, pulsing with the rhythm of the sea below. The amulet around her neck burned, its visions relentless, flashes of the city, the heart, her mother's face, and the void beyond, screaming with ancient hunger. The ocean roared, waves crashing with a fury that shook the earth, as if it knew the end was near. The pull was unbearable, a tide in her blood, dragging her toward the deep. Lila stood beside her, clutching the map, her red hair whipping in the wind. Her face was pale, her eyes wide with fear. "The stars," she whispered, pointing to the sky. "They're falling into the sea." Elara nodded, her glowing eyes fixed on the water. The meteors plunged, each one hitting the waves with a hiss, sending up sprays of glowing foam. The sea was alive, its surface shimmering with starry eyes, the Guardian's presence heavy in the air. The dive into the city had freed her mother and Sam from the web, but they were still trapped, bound to the heart. Breaking it was the only way to save them, and stop the void from opening. "We have to go now," Elara said, her voice steady despite the fear clawing her chest. "The heart's calling. If we wait, it'll take everyone." Lila's hand trembled, holding the map. "You're barely here, Elara. Your glow, it's worse. What if you don't come back?" Elara touched the amulet, its warmth her only anchor. "I have to try. For my mother, for Sam, for you." Her memories were fading, faces blurring, but Lila's hand in hers kept her grounded. The bond was her strength, even as her body faded into light. They hurried to Tom's boat, the last of the scuba gear ready. The map showed the trench, deeper than ever, where the city lay. The amulet's visions guided them, but the Guardian would be waiting, its black hole eyes and night-dark tentacles stronger since the lighthouse's beam. Elara's glow was a beacon, marking her as the sea's kin, but also its prey. As they sailed, the sea churned, waves glowing with starry light. Meteors fell, each one stirring the water, waking more shadows. Elara felt the void in her, its screams louder, mixing with the ocean's song. Her body was lighter, her skin shimmering like the crystals in the deep. She tied a rope around her waist, afraid she'd float away before they reached the trench. Lila checked the gear, her hands steady despite her fear. "We go together," she said. "No arguments." Elara nodded, her throat tight. Together. They dove, the water swallowing them, cold and heavy, like a living thing. The trench was darker, its walls jagged, studded with crystals that pulsed like heartbeats. Elara's glow lit the way, blending with the amulet's light, casting eerie shadows. The pull was overwhelming, a tide pulling her deeper, her body humming with the heart's rhythm. Shadows moved, their starry eyes watching, their song a mix of love and hunger. The city appeared below, its black spires sharper, its orbs brighter, glowing with the light of fallen stars. The heart pulsed at its center, a massive crystal, its light blinding. But the Guardian was there, its massive form coiling around the city, tentacles blacker than the deep, eyes like voids that sucked in light. It screamed, a sound that shook the water, vibrating in Elara's bones. "You cannot take it!" it roared, its voice a storm in her mind. Lila's voice crackled through the comms. "Elara, it's huge!" Elara gripped the amulet, its vision showing her mother, floating near the heart, her eyes pleading. "We have to get past it," she said, swimming forward. The Guardian lashed out, a tentacle grazing her, its touch cold as death. Visions flooded her, planets crumbling, stars screaming, a void that swallowed everything. The Guardian was its herald tied to the heart. and it would not let her near. Lila swam beside her, dodging tentacles, her flashlight flickering. The shadows joined the Guardian, smaller but faster, their starry eyes locking on Elara. They sang, their voices pulling at her, promising peace. "Stay," they said. "Be one with us." Elara shook her head, focusing on the heart. She saw her mother, clearer now, her form glowing, her hands reaching out. "Elara, you're close," she said. "But the Guardian, it's part of the void. Don't let it touch you." Elara swam harder, her glow blazing, cutting through the shadows. The Guardian roared, its tentacles blocking the path to the heart. Lila grabbed a jagged rock from the ocean floor, hurling it at a tentacle. It flinched, giving Elara an opening. She dove, her glowing hands outstretched, the amulet burning against her chest. The heart was close, its light blinding, its pulse shaking the city. Elara reached it, her hands hovering over the crystal. Visions flooded her, the stars fall, its life merging with the sea, creating the heart, the Guardian, the city. The void waited beyond, a darkness that hungered for everything. Her mother appeared, her voice clear. "Touch it, Elara, but be strong." Elara's hand pressed against the crystal, its warmth flooding her. She saw the universe, endless oceans linking worlds, stars singing, beings that stretched across galaxies. The heart was their anchor, holding the void's door shut, but it was weakening, needing more souls. Her mother's sacrifice had kept it sealed, but Elara's touch woke it further, the Guardian's scream shaking the city. Lila cried out, a tentacle wrapping around her leg. Elara turned, her glow flaring, cutting the tentacle with her hands. Lila broke free, gasping, but the Guardian surged, its eyes locking on Elara. "You are ours!" it roared, its voice tearing at her mind. Elara's memories faded faster, faces blurring. Lila, her mother, even herself. The heart's light was consuming her, her body fading into starlight. She saw the void, its beings reaching through the crack, their forms shifting, hungry. The amulet burned, showing her mother's face, her voice a lifeline. "Hold on to the bond, Elara. It's your strength." Elara grabbed Lila's hand, their fingers linking, the bond grounding her. She pulled away from the heart, swimming hard, the Guardian chasing, its tentacles lashing. The city shook, spires cracking, orbs flickering. They broke the surface, gasping, the boat rocking in the glowing waves. Lila pulled her aboard, her face pale. "You touched it," she said, her voice breaking. "Your glow, it's everywhere." Elara looked down, her body shimmering like a star, her memories faint, like shadows. "I saw it," she said, her voice weak. "The heart, the void, it's bigger than we thought." They sailed back, the sea alive with falling stars, each one stirring the waves. Elara's glow was blinding now, her body lighter, as if she was becoming light itself. The amulet showed flashes, her mother, Sam, floating free but still bound to the heart. Touching it had weakened the Guardian, but it had cost her more memories, her humanity slipping away. Back in Eldridge, they hid in Harlan's shop, the town in ruins, streets flooded with glowing water. Harlan studied Elara, his face grim. "You've seen the heart," he said. "You're part of it now." Elara's hands trembled, the amulet heavy. "I saw the void. It's waiting, Harlan. If the heart breaks, it'll come through." Harlan nodded. "Your mother knew. That's why she stayed. You're stronger, maybe, but you're fading." Lila opened the journals, finding a note in Caleb's hand. "The heart is the lock, the Guardian its keeper. Touch it, and you weaken. Both, but you lose yourself." Another in her mother's writing. "The bond is your anchor, Elara. Don't let go." Elara's heart ached. Her bond with Lila, with her mother, had kept her from the void, but the cost was high. Her memories were fragments, her body glowing like the heart. She felt the sea in her, its song louder, the void's screams mixing with her blood. They planned the final dive, to the heart itself, to break it or seal it. The amulet would guide them, but the guardian was stronger, its eyes watching from the deep. Elara's glow marked her as its kin, but also its target. Lila's hand stayed on hers, their bond unbroken, even as Elara felt herself fading. As they prepared, the sea roared, waves crashing, glowing with fallen stars. The guardian's scream echoed, shaking the cliffs. Elara clutched the amulet, its warmth her only anchor. The heart was close, but so was the void, and the choice was coming: freedom or ruin. Chapter 12. Release or ruin. The sea raged under a sky ablaze with falling stars, their light swallowed by waves that glowed with an unearthly shimmer. Elara stood at the edge of Eldridge's cliffs, her body glowing like a beacon, the starry light now covering her from head to toe, pulsing with the rhythm of the heart deep below. Her eyes burned with the same cosmic glow as the creatures in the abyss, and the amulet around her neck throbbed, its visions relentless: black spires, glowing orbs, her mother's face, and the void's endless hunger. The ocean's pull was a storm in her blood, dragging her toward the deep, its song a scream that promised peace if she surrendered. Lila stood beside her, clutching the map, her red hair wild in the wind, her face pale with fear. "Elara," she whispered, her voice trembling, "you're fading. You're more light than person now." Elara nodded, her throat tight. Her memories were fragments, faces blurred. Her mother, Lila, even herself. The amulet's warmth was her only anchor, its vision showing the heart, the city, and the void's door, held shut by her mother's sacrifice. The guardian, a massive creature of night-dark tentacles and black hole eyes, was stronger, stirred by her touch on the heart. The choice loomed: break the heart to free her mother and the others, or seal it and risk losing herself forever. "We go now," Elara said, her voice steady despite the void's screams in her head. "The heart's the key. We end this tonight." Lila's eyes filled with tears. "What if breaking it opens the door? The void. It'll take everything." Elara clutched the amulet, its light blending with her glow. "I saw it, Lila. The void's worse than the sea, but my mother's still fighting. I won't let her go." They hurried to Tom's boat, the last of the scuba gear ready. The map showed the trench, the deepest yet, where the city lay. The amulet would guide them, but the guardian was waiting, its presence a weight in the air. Elara's glow was blinding, her body so light she felt she might float away. Lila tied a rope around her waist, anchoring her to the boat. "You're coming back," Lila said, her voice fierce. Elara touched her hand, their bond the only thing keeping her human. "Together," she said. They sailed under the falling stars, the sea churning, waves glowing with the light of 1,000 eyes. The trench loomed ahead, a dark wound in the ocean floor. Elara suited up, her glow seeping through the gear, lighting the deck like a lantern. Lila followed, her face set with determination. "For Sam," she said. "For your mother." They dove, the water swallowing them, cold and alive, its pressure like a hand squeezing her heart. The trench was darker than before, its walls jagged, studded with crystals that pulsed like the heart. Elara's glow lit the way, the amulet's visions guiding her deeper. The pull was overwhelming, a tide in her blood, her body humming with the heart's rhythm. Shadows moved, their starry eyes watching, their song a mix of love and hunger. The city appeared, its black spires sharper, its orbs brighter, glowing with the light of fallen stars. The heart pulsed at its center, a massive crystal, its light, blinding, shaking the water with each beat. The guardian coiled around it, its tentacles blacker than the deep, its eyes like voids that sucked in light. It screamed, a sound that tore through Elara's mind, visions flooding her, planets crumbling, stars screaming, a void that devoured everything. Lila's voice crackled through the comms. "Elara, it's bigger than before." Elara gripped the amulet, her mother's face flashing in her mind, her voice clear. "Break it, Elara. Free us. But be strong." The guardian lashed out, a tentacle grazing her, its touch cold as death. Elara's glow flared, cutting through it, but the effort drained her, her memories fading faster. Lila's smile, her mother's laugh, gone like sand. They swam closer, dodging tentacles, the shadows circling, their song louder, pulling at her soul. "Stay," they sang. "Be one with us." Elara shook her head, focusing on the heart. Her mother appeared, floating near it, her eyes pleading. "You're here," she said, "but the void, it's close." Elara reached the heart, her glowing hands hovering over the crystal. Its light was blinding, its pulse shaking her bones. She saw the universe, endless oceans linking worlds, stars singing, beings stretching across galaxies. The heart was there, anchor, holding the void's door shut. But it was weak, needing her soul to stay strong. Her mother's sacrifice had kept it sealed, but Elara's touch could break it or open everything. Lila swam beside her, her flashlight flickering. "Elara, do it! Free them!" the guardian roared, its tentacles surging, wrapping around Lila. She screamed, her regulator bubbling. Elara's glow blazed, cutting the tentacles, freeing Lila. But the guardian's eyes locked on her, its voice a storm. "You cannot take it. The void will rise." Elara's hand pressed against the heart, its warmth flooding her. Visions overwhelmed her, the stars fall, its life merging with the sea, creating the heart, the guardian, the city. The void waited, its beings reaching through the crack, their forms shifting, hungry. Her mother's voice broke through. "Break it, Elara. But hold on to the bond." Elara's memories were nearly gone, her body fading into light. She saw Lila, her face clear, their hands linked in a memory from childhood, running on the beach, laughing. The bond was her strength, her anchor. She screamed, her glow flaring, and struck the heart with both hands. The crystal cracked, light exploding, the city shaking. The guardian screamed, its form dissolving, tentacles crumbling into glowing dust. The sea roared, waves surging, pulling at Elara. Souls rose from the heart, her mother, Sam, others, their forms glowing, free. Her mother's face appeared, smiling, her voice soft. "You did it, Elara. You're free." But the void stirred, a crack opening in the water, darkness spilling out. Elara felt it, a hunger older than time reaching for her. Lila grabbed her, pulling her toward the surface, their bond stronger than the void's pull. The city collapsed, spires falling, orbs fading, the heart's light dying. They broke the surface, gasping, the boat rocking in the glowing waves. The sea was calming, the starry eyes fading, the whispers gone. Elara's glow dimmed, her body heavy again, but empty. Her memories were fragments, her mother's face a blur, though her love remained. Lila held her, tears streaming. "You did it. They're free." Elara nodded, her throat tight. But the void, it's still there. They sailed back, the sky clearing, the falling stars gone. Eldridge was quiet, the cursed tide's gifts washed away, the town spared. Harlan met them at the dock, his face grim but relieved. "You broke it," he said. "The sea's quiet now." Elara's hands were dim, her glow fading, but her heart felt hollow. She'd freed her mother, Sam, the others, but the void's crack lingered in her mind, a shadow waiting. She clutched the amulet, now cold, its visions gone. The bond with Lila had saved her, but the cost was high. Her memories, her humanity, pieces of herself left in the deep. Days passed, the sea calm, the town healing. Elara walked the beach, the sand cool under her feet, the waves gentle. The whispers were gone, but she felt them in quiet moments, echoes of the void, faint but real. She looked at the stars, wondering if they'd call again, if the door would open. Lila joined her, their hands linking, their bond unbroken. "You're still here," Lila said, her voice soft. Elara smiled, though her heart ached. For now, the sea watched, silent but alive, its secrets buried in the deep. Elara knew it would never fully let go, but she'd fought and won, for her mother, for Eldridge, for herself. The void was sealed, the heart broken, but the echoes remained, a reminder of the choice she'd made. Release, not ruin.